The baby was coming, but the doctor was the man who got her pregnant and abandoned her. Ashley Wilson was breathing heavily as the contractions intensified. The nurse was adjusting the equipment around her when she announced that the doctor was coming to deliver the baby. What she didn't expect was that her entire life would change when that door opened. "The Dr. Nathan is on his way," said the nurse, checking the baby's heartbeat on the monitor. Ashley nodded, trying to focus on the breathing exercises she had learned in prenatal class. At 28 years old, she was about to become a single mother after 8 months of dealing alone with a pregnancy she hadn't planned. 8 months since he had simply vanished. The door opened and she turned her head to greet the doctor. Her heart stopped. There was Nathan Mitchell, the man who had abandoned her when he found out about the pregnancy, wearing a white coat with a stethoscope around his neck. "No, it can't be," she murmured, trying to sit up on the gurney. Nathan stood frozen in the doorway, the chart trembling in his hands. Their eyes met and for a moment time seemed to freeze. The nurse, Nurse Betty, an experienced woman with greying hair, immediately sensed the tension in the air. "Is there a problem, Doctor?" asked Nurse Betty, looking between the two of them. I need another doctor," Ashley said, her voice breaking. A new contraction hit her, and she doubled over in pain. "Ashley?" Nathan whispered, taking a step forward. "Don't you dare say my name!" she screamed between contractions. "Nurse Betty, please, call another doctor. Anyone." Nurse Betty looked at Nathan, who had turned completely pale. She had worked at that hospital for over 20 years and had seen it all, but the pain in that young woman's eyes was something that touched her deeply. "My dear, I understand your situation, but Dr. Nathan is the only obstetrician on duty tonight. The hospital is under renovation, and half the staff has been temporarily transferred to other units. Then transfer me to another hospital," Ashley begged, grabbing the nurse's hand. "Sweetheart, you're already 9 centimeters dilated. The baby will be born within the next few hours. There's no time," Nurse Betty explained kindly. Nathan approached the bed, keeping a respectful distance. His voice was hoarse when he spoke. "Ashley, I know you have every reason to hate me, but right now I'm just a doctor. My only concern is making sure you and the baby are okay." "Your only concern?" she repeated incredulously. "Where was that concern when I had to get all the tests done alone? When I got sick at work and had no one to take me to the hospital?" A stronger contraction interrupted her speech, and she squeezed her eyes shut, breathing deeply. Nathan automatically moved forward to check the monitors, but stopped when she shot him a furious look. "Don't touch me," she said through clenched teeth. Nurse Betty sighed and positioned herself between the two. She had worked with Nathan for the past 6 months and knew he was an excellent professional, but she also saw the genuine pain in his eyes. As for the young mother, her anguish was palpable. "Listen, both of you," she said with authority. "Whatever the history is between you, right now there is a child who needs to be born safely. Dr. Nathan, you are a doctor, and you swore to save lives. Ashley, dear, you need to think about your baby." Nathan nodded, taking a deep breath to compose himself. He walked to the sink to wash his hands trembling slightly. Ashley watched his movements, noticing how he had changed. He was thinner, had deep dark circles under his eyes, and seemed to have aged more than the 8 months that had passed. "How did you know I was here?" she asked suspiciously. "I didn't know," Nathan replied, putting on the surgical gloves. "My name on the medical record is Nathan Andrew Mitchell. I use my full name professionally." Ashley widened her eyes. She had chosen that hospital precisely because she hadn't recognized the obstetrician's name on the list. Nathan had always only used his first and last name socially. "That's why I didn't recognize you when I scheduled the delivery here," she murmured, processing the information. A new wave of contractions hit her, and this time she couldn't contain a scream of pain. Nathan approached, his medical instinct speaking louder than any personal embarrassment. "Ashley, I need to examine you to see how the labor is progressing. May I?" She hesitated, but another contraction made her agree with a nod. Nathan was extremely professional, explaining each step of the exam. His hands were firm and sure, exactly as she remembered when he used to touch her affectionately in the past. "You're almost in the pushing stage. The baby is coming," he announced, checking the monitors again. At that moment, the door swung open and in walked Jennifer, Ashley's best friend. She had driven like a madwoman as soon as she got the call that labor had started. "Ashley, how are you?" Jennifer rushed to the bed, not noticing who the doctor was. "Jennifer," Ashley tried to warn her, but was interrupted by another contraction. "I'm so glad you chose this hospital, my friend. It has the best doctors in town." "Good thing you followed my recommendation," Jennifer said, fixing her friend's sweaty hair. Nathan froze upon hearing those words. Jennifer continued, "The doctor who will deliver your baby saved my little Danny when he was born premature last year. He's an angel. Dr. Nathan, remember me? I'm the mother of Daniel Thompson, 7 months gestation." Jennifer finally looked at the doctor, and her expression changed completely. She knew Nathan very well. She had been the godmother of his relationship with Ashley. "Nathan," she whispered in disbelief. The atmosphere in the room grew even more tense. Ashley closed her eyes, feeling as if fate was conspiring against her. First, she finds out Nathan works exactly at the hospital she had chosen. Now she learns it was Jennifer who recommended she go there, unaware of the connection. "You recommended this hospital knowing he worked here?" Ashley asked, her voice full of accusation. "No, I swear I didn't know." Jennifer defended herself, looking desperately between the two of them. "He treated me under a different name. I never made the connection." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Nathan remained silent, focusing on the monitors. The baby's heart rate was beginning to show signs of stress, probably from the mother's emotional tension. "Ashley, I need you to try to calm down. The baby is feeling your anxiety," he said professionally. "Calm down?" She laughed bitterly. "The father of my child, who disappeared when he found out about the pregnancy, is now going to deliver my baby, and you want me to calm down?" Jennifer sat by the bed, taking her friend's hand. She remembered perfectly how Ashley had suffered when Nathan vanished from her life. Sleepless nights crying, questioning what she had done wrong, if she was good enough to be a mother. "Ashley, breathe with me, okay? Think about the baby," Jennifer said, trying to calm her. A particularly strong contraction made Ashley scream and double over. Nathan quickly checked her blood pressure and didn't like what he saw. "Nurse Betty, her pressure has risen sharply. I need you to prepare medication for hypertension," he said quietly to the nurse. "Nathan, what's happening?" Ashley asked, noticing the concern in his voice. "Your emotional state has dangerously raised your blood pressure. This could be a risk for you and the baby," he explained, preparing the medication. At that moment, the door opened again and in came Mrs. Patricia, Ashley's mother. She was a 58-year-old woman with graying hair who had dropped everything when she learned her daughter was in labor. "Ashley, my dear, how are you?" Mrs. Patricia rushed to the bed and stopped abruptly when she saw Nathan. "What are you doing here?" Nathan lowered his head. Mrs. Patricia had been like a second mother to him during the 2 years he dated Ashley. She adored him and always said he would be the ideal son-in-law. "Mom, he's the doctor who's going to deliver my baby," Ashley explained, her voice tired. Mrs. Patricia was speechless for a few seconds before exploding. "You have the nerve to show up here? After abandoning my pregnant daughter? Get out of here immediately." "Mrs. Patricia, please," Nurse Betty intervened. "He's the only doctor available." "Then get a doctor from another hospital," Mrs. Patricia shouted. "I won't let this coward touch my daughter." Nathan remained silent, but Ashley could see in his eyes that her mother's words had hit him deeply. Part of her felt satisfied to see him suffering, but another part, a part she tried to suppress, felt sorry for him. "Mrs. Patricia, with all due respect, but any interference now could put your daughter and your grandson at risk," Nathan said calmly. "I'm a doctor above all else." "My grandson?" Mrs. Patricia repeated, her voice trembling. "You lost the right to call that child anything when you ran away like a coward." The argument was interrupted by a contraction so strong that Ashley almost passed out. Nathan immediately focused on the monitors and his face grew serious. "The baby is in fetal distress. I need to speed up the process or we'll have to do an emergency C-section," he announced. Fear gripped everyone in the room. Mrs. Patricia, despite all her anger, knew her daughter's and grandson's lives came first. Jennifer squeezed Ashley's hand, whispering words of encouragement. "Ashley, I need you to work with me now. Forget everything that happened between us. Let's save your son." Nathan quickly corrected himself. Ashley looked into his eyes and saw something she didn't expect. Tears. Nathan was struggling to maintain his professional composure, but she could see the man behind the doctor, and that man was desperate. "Okay," she whispered, "but after my son is born, I never want to see you in my life again." Nathan nodded, swallowing hard. He began giving precise instructions to Nurse Betty and prepared for what would be one of the most difficult deliveries of his career, not because of the medical complexity, but because of the emotional burden involved. "With the next contraction, you're going to push, Ashley. Nurse Betty will help you breathe correctly," he instructed. The contraction came, and Ashley pushed with all her might, squeezing Jennifer's hand until it turned purple. Nathan worked with surgical precision, but his hands trembled almost imperceptibly. "Very good, Ashley. I can see the baby's head," he announced, his voice choked. "Really?" she asked, momentarily forgetting her anger. "Really. One more contraction, and your son will be here." As they waited for the next contraction, Nathan murmured something that only Ashley could hear. "I dreamed of this moment every day." She looked at him, confused, but before she could respond, the final contraction arrived. With one last effort, the baby was born, and his cry filled the room, bringing tears to everyone's eyes. Nathan held the baby with trembling hands, and when he placed him on Ashley's chest, she saw tears streaming down his face. He was a perfect boy, with an impressive amount of dark hair and healthy lungs. "He's perfect," Nathan whispered, unable to take his eyes off his son. Nurse Betty, who had witnessed hundreds of deliveries throughout her career, had never seen a doctor cry like that. There was something deeply moving about the scene before her. "Doctor, in 30 years working here, I've never seen a doctor get so emotional," she commented softly. Ashley watched Nathan as he checked the baby's vital signs. His hands were infinitely gentle, and she could see the pure love in his eyes. For a moment, she forgot all the hurt and just saw the father of her child. "What will his name be?" Mrs. Patricia asked, her anger momentarily forgotten in the emotion of her grandson's birth. "Ethan," Ashley answered. "Ethan Wilson." Nathan stopped what he was doing. Ethan had been one of the names they had discussed during their conversations about the future, before everything fell apart. "It's a beautiful name," he said simply. The process of cleaning the baby and providing his initial care proceeded in silence. Nathan worked efficiently, but Ashley noticed how he touched Ethan with extra delicacy, as if he were memorizing every detail. When it was all over and Ethan was clean and warm in his mother's arms, reality settled heavily again on everyone in the room. Nathan removed his gloves and went to the sink to wash his hands. "The routine tests will be done tomorrow morning. If you need anything, call the nursing station," he said professionally, avoiding looking directly at Ashley. "Nathan," she called out as he was almost out the door. He stopped, but didn't turn around. "Thank you," she said simply. He nodded and left the room, leaving behind a silence heavy with unresolved emotions. In the hospital corridors, Nathan leaned against the wall and finally allowed all the emotions he had suppressed during the delivery to surface. He cried silently, thinking about everything he had lost and the son he had just helped bring into the world. Nurse Betty, who had gone out to fetch some medications, found him like that. She approached and placed a motherly hand on his shoulder. "Doctor, may I ask an indiscreet question?" Nathan wiped his eyes and looked at her. Nurse Betty had this ability to make people feel safe enough to share their problems. "Why did you abandon that girl?" she asked directly. Nathan sighed deeply. It was the first time in 8 months that someone had asked him that question, and he felt ready to answer. "I didn't abandon her, Nurse Betty. At least, not in the way it seems," he began. "When Ashley told me about the pregnancy, I was desperate, but not because I didn't want the baby. I was desperate because I didn't know how to tell my mother." "Your mother?" Nurse Betty repeated, intrigued. "My mother is..." complicated. She lost my father when I was 15. He was a doctor too and died of a sudden heart attack at 45. Since then, she's developed an obsession with my medical career. She says it's to honor his memory, but it's really a fear of losing me too. Nurse Betty listened attentively, recognizing the genuine pain in his voice. When I told her about the pregnancy, she had a crisis. She said I was throwing my career away, that a young family would interfere with my residency. She even went so far as to threaten to check herself into a psychiatric clinic if I didn't break up with Ashley. "And you believed that blackmail?" Nurse Betty asked, but with no judgment in her voice. "My mother has tried to hurt herself before, Nurse Betty. When I was younger and went against her wishes, I was terrified that she would do something to herself, so I made the worst decision of my life. I disappeared thinking it would be temporary until I could convince my mother." "But why didn't you explain this to Ashley?" "Because I was a coward. I thought it would be better for her to hate me than to know the truth about my family. I didn't want her to carry the burden of knowing that our happiness could cause harm to another person." Nurse Betty shook her head. In her many years of life, she had seen how fear could make people make terrible decisions. "And now? Does your mother know about the baby?" Nathan laughed bitterly. "She found out a few weeks ago. She found an ultrasound photo I carried in my wallet. She had another nervous breakdown, but this time it was different. When she saw the image of her grandson, something changed in her. She started questioning everything she had done." "And you? What do you intend to do?" "I don't know, Nurse Betty. Ashley hates me and she has every right to. I destroyed our family before it even existed. All I can do now is try to be a good doctor for her and make sure she and Ethan are well." Nurse Betty smiled sadly. It was a complex situation, with no clear villains or heroes, just people who had made bad decisions driven by fear and misdirected love. "You know, Doctor, in all these years working here, I've learned that life has a strange way of giving second chances. Maybe today wasn't just a coincidence." Nathan looked at her with gratitude. It was comforting to have someone who didn't judge him completely. "Thank you, Nurse Betty, for everything." She gave a maternal pat on his arm and returned to her tasks, leaving Nathan alone with his thoughts in the quiet hospital hallway. Meanwhile, in the room, Ashley was breastfeeding Ethan for the first time. The baby had latched on immediately, and she felt a deep and instant connection with that little life she had carried for 9 months. "He looks just like his father," Jennifer commented, observing the baby's face. "Jennifer," Mrs. Patricia scolded her. "It's true, Mom," Ashley said calmly. "He has Nathan's eyes and the shape of his face. There's no use denying it." Mrs. Patricia sat down heavily in the chair next to the bed. The anger she felt towards Nathan was still there, but seeing her daughter with her grandson, she began to think about how the whole situation would affect Ethan in the future. "Ashley, what do you intend to do?" she asked. "I don't know, Mom. I'm still processing everything. A few hours ago, I hated Nathan with every fiber of my being. Now, I saw how he looked at Ethan. I saw how his hands trembled when he held our son. I don't know what to think anymore." Jennifer approached the bed. "Ashley, can I tell you something? When Daniel was born premature, I was desperate. Dr. Nathan was the doctor who stayed with him in the neonatal ICU. He wouldn't leave my son's side. He worked double shifts to monitor his progress. He came to the hospital even on his days off to check on Daniel." Ashley looked at her with interest. "One day, I asked him why he was so dedicated to my son. You know what he said? That every baby deserves to have someone fighting for them, even when the parents can't be present. At the time, I thought it was strange for him to talk about absent parents, but now I understand." "What do you mean?" "I think he was preparing himself, Ashley, helping other babies because he knew he couldn't help his own son." Mrs. Patricia listened to everything in silence, processing this new information. Perhaps Nathan wasn't just the coward she thought he was. Perhaps there was more to the whole story. The rest of the night passed quietly. Ethan slept well, waking only to feed. Ashley barely slept, torn between the joy of finally holding her son and the confusion about Nathan. The next morning, a different nurse came in to perform the routine checks on Ethan. Ashley asked about Nurse Betty and learned that her shift had ended. Dr. Nathan left all the necessary instructions, the nurse informed her. He was very detailed about the care. Is he still at the hospital? Ashley asked, trying to sound indifferent. No, but he asked to be informed of any changes in the baby's condition. He left his personal number too. Ashley was surprised. She had said she didn't want to see him again, but he was still worried enough to leave instructions to be notified if there were any problems. Throughout the morning, she had several visitors, co-workers, other friends, her sister who lived in another city. They all wanted to meet Ethan and congratulate her, but there was one visitor she wasn't expecting. Around noon, an elegant woman of about 55 knocked on the door. She had well-kept grey hair and expensive clothes, but her eyes were red from crying so much. "Excuse me," she said hesitantly. "Are you Ashley Wilson?" "I am. Can I help you?" The woman entered the room, clearly nervous. "My name is Catherine Mitchell. I'm Nathan's mother." The silence in the room was absolute. Miss Patricia, who was present, got up from her chair with a hostile expression. "You have a lot of nerve showing up here," Mrs. Patricia said. Catherine shrank back but didn't leave. "I know I have no right to be here. I know I caused terrible harm to everyone. But I needed to come. I needed to see my grandson." Ashley watched Catherine carefully. The woman was clearly suffering, and there was a vulnerability in her eyes that was hard to ignore. "Why did you come?" Ashley asked. Catherine approached the bed, looking at Ethan, who was sleeping peacefully. "To ask for forgiveness. To admit that I destroyed my son's happiness and yours. To say that I hate myself every day for it." "Mrs. Catherine," Mrs. Patricia intervened, "your words don't erase the suffering my daughter went through." "I know," Catherine said, tears starting to fall. "I know I can't undo anything, but I needed you to know the truth." "What truth?" Ashley asked, intrigued. Catherine took a deep breath before she began to speak. "When Nathan told me about the pregnancy, I panicked, not because I didn't want a grandchild, but because I was afraid of losing him like I lost my husband. When my husband was young and had a new family, he overworked himself to give us the best. That contributed to the heart attack that took him." Ashley listened in silence, holding Ethan a little tighter. "I projected all my fears onto Nathan. I said terrible things. I made threats a mother should never make. I emotionally blackmailed my own son because I was desperate with fear." "And he believed your threats?" Mrs. Patricia asked. "Because I had done similar things before," Catherine confessed, ashamed. "When he was a teenager and wanted to follow paths I didn't approve of, I hurt myself on purpose to manipulate him. I know how terrible that sounds, but I was sick with fear of losing him." Ashley felt a tightness in her chest. She was beginning to understand the pressure Nathan had been under. "Where is your son now?" she asked. "At home, sleeping. He worked all night and came home this morning, emotionally destroyed. I've never seen my son cry like that." Catherine moved closer to the bed and asked, May I see him closer? My grandson." Ashley hesitated, but something in Catherine's expression touched her. She adjusted Ethan so his grandmother could see him better. Catherine covered her mouth with her hands, trying to hold back her sobs. "He's perfect, exactly like Nathan when he was a baby. The same hair, the same eye shape." "Mrs. Catherine," Ashley said calmly, "I need you to understand something. Regardless of the reasons that led Nathan to abandon me, I suffered a lot. I spent sleepless nights questioning if I was good enough to be a mother alone. I worked right up to the last day of my pregnancy to be able to pay all the expenses. I went to all my appointments alone. I set up the baby's room alone. I know, dear, and I will carry that guilt forever. But what confuses me the most," Ashley continued, "is that Nathan didn't try to contact me a single time in 8 months. If he was suffering as much as you say, why didn't he fight for us?" Catherine lowered her head. "Because I convinced him it would be better for you. I said a single mother would get more support from the government, that you could rebuild your life with someone better. I filled his head with lies because I was desperate." Mrs. Patricia, who had been listening to everything, sat down heavily. The situation was turning out to be much more complex than she had imagined. "And now?" Ashley asked. "What do you expect to happen?" "Nothing," Catherine answered honestly. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect to be allowed to be part of my grandson's life. I just wanted you to know that Nathan always loved you, that he cried alone in his room every night, that he set up a nursery in our house and spent hours there, imagining what it would be like when you came back." Ashley's eyes widened. "He set up a nursery?" "He did. He chose every piece of furniture with care, every decoration. He said that when he managed to convince you to forgive him, you would have a perfect place for Ethan." Ashley's heart tightened. All these months, she had imagined Nathan moving on with his life, as if nothing had happened while he was apparently suffering as much as she was. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asked. "Because when I saw the ultrasound photo he carried in his wallet, I realized the harm I had done. My son missed 8 months of his baby's pregnancy because of me. You created a life alone because of me. And my grandson grew up without his father because of me." Catherine walked to the window, looking out. "I'm starting therapy, Ashley. I've already made an appointment with a psychologist. I know it's too late for many things, but it's not too late to try to become a better person." Ethan started to stir and made a small sound. Catherine turned immediately, as if she were a magnet drawn to him. Can I hold him?" she asked hesitantly. "I promise that if you say no, I will leave and never bother you again." Ashley looked at her mother, who shrugged, leaving the decision to her. There was something in Catherine's vulnerability that touched Ashley deeply. Maybe it was her recent motherhood making her more sensitive, but she could see the genuine pain in that woman. "You can," she said simply. Catherine approached with cautious steps, as if she were on sacred ground. When Ashley placed Ethan in her arms, Catherine began to cry silently. "Hi, my little grandson," she whispered. "Grandma was a very bad person, but I promise I will try to be better for you." Ethan opened his eyes and fixed his gaze on Catherine's face. She smiled through her tears, rocking him gently. "He has Nathan's gaze. Always so serious, even as a baby," she commented, trying to break the tension. Mrs. Patricia watched the scene and felt her heart soften a little. It was impossible to deny that Catherine was genuinely remorseful. "Mrs. Catherine," Mrs. Patricia said, "I can understand a mother's fear. I'm also afraid of losing my daughter, but what I don't understand is how you could use that fear to destroy her happiness." "Because I was sick, Patricia. I know it's not an excuse, but I was sick with fear and anxiety ever since I lost my husband. I turned my son into my only reason for living, and that was a terrible burden for him." Catherine handed Ethan back to Ashley and walked to the door. "Thank you for letting me meet him. I know I don't deserve it, but I will cherish this moment forever." "Mrs. Catherine," Ashley called out as she was almost out the door. "Yes?" "Does Nathan know you came here?" "No. He would be furious if he knew. He asked me not to bother you." Ashley nodded, processing this new information. Nathan had not only not sent his mother on this visit, but had specifically asked her not to come. After Catherine left, the room was silent for a long time. Mrs. Patricia approached her daughter and sat on the bed. "What are you thinking about, dear?" "I don't know, Mom. I'm confused. All these months, I built up an image of Nathan in my head. The cowardly man who ran away from his responsibilities. But now you're discovering that maybe he isn't the villain you thought he was," Mrs. Patricia completed. "Exactly, and that makes me even more lost, because it's easier to hate someone when you're sure they're bad. But if Nathan was suffering as much as I was..." Ethan started to cry and Ashley automatically began to rock him. Motherhood had awakened a fierce, protective instinct in her, but also a greater compassion for life's complexities. "Mom, do you think I should talk to him?" Mrs. Patricia sighed. "Dear, I can't make that decision for you, but I can say one thing. Ethan deserves to know the truth about his father when he grows up, and you deserve to have peace in your heart. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. That afternoon, Ashley was discharged from the hospital. Mrs. Patricia helped her organize her things while she breastfed Ethan one last time before going home. "Ashley," said a familiar voice at the door. It was Nurse Betty, who had returned for the afternoon shift. "Nurse Betty, it's so good to see you," Ashley smiled. "I came to say goodbye." How are you both? Well, Ethan is feeding well and I feel physically fine. And emotionally? Nurse Betty asked with her usual perceptiveness. Ashley hesitated. It's complicated. Nathan's mother came to visit me today. Ah, yes, Mrs. Catherine. I saw her leaving the hospital. She looked like she had been crying a lot. You know her? Yes, I do. She comes here sometimes when Nathan is working. She waits in the reception area's cafe, waiting for him to finish his shift. She never interferes with his work, but she's always nearby. Ashley was surprised by this information. She comes often? At least twice a week. Nathan never knew. She asked me to keep it a secret. She said she knows she was too controlling in the past and is trying to change, but she still worries about him a great deal. Mrs. Patricia and Ashley exchanged looks. This was another piece of the puzzle that hadn't been revealed. Nurse Betty, can I ask you a question? Ashley said. Of course, dear. As someone who sees Nathan work every day, what kind of doctor is he? Nurse Betty smiled. He's one of the best I've ever seen, Ashley. He dedicates himself to his patients like few others. He stays past his hours when needed, studies complex cases at home, never loses patience with difficult patients. But I've always felt there was a sadness in him, especially when he handles obstetrics cases. You notice he gets more emotional than he should professionally. And do you think that has to do with you? Without a doubt. A man doesn't cry the way he cried yesterday over just any patient. That was a father seeing his son being born. Ashley got up and went to the window, still holding Ethan. Outside, life went on as normal. People came and went, each carrying their own stories, their own regrets and hopes. Nurse Betty, can I ask you a favor? Of course. Can you tell Nathan that if he wants to get to know Ethan better, he can contact me? I'm not promising anything beyond a conversation, but I think he deserves at least that. Nurse Betty smiled widely. You can count on me, dear. I'll pass along the message. After Nurse Betty left, Ashley finished packing her things. Mrs. Patricia noticed her daughter was more thoughtful than before. Are you sure about your decision, dear? I'm not sure about anything, Mom, but I know I don't want Ethan to grow up with the weight of unanswered questions, and maybe I need answers too. The ride home was quiet. Ethan slept the entire time in his car seat, oblivious to the complexities of the adult world around him. Ashley looked out the window, thinking about how life could change completely in a matter of hours. At Catherine and Nathan's house, the situation was no less tense. Nathan had only slept a few hours after arriving from the hospital. He woke up in the middle of the afternoon with the feeling that he had dreamed everything that happened the previous night. Nathan, you're awake, Catherine said when he came down to the kitchen. Mom, please don't start, he said, pouring himself some coffee. I'm not starting anything. I just want you to know that I went to the hospital today. Nathan stopped what he was doing and turned to her. You what? I went to meet my grandson and to apologize to Ashley. Mum, how could you? I specifically asked you not to. And it was the best thing I've ever done, she interrupted him. Nathan, your son is beautiful. And Ashley? Ashley is exactly as you always described. Strong, smart, but also compassionate. Nathan sat down at the table, running his hands through his hair. What did you say to her? The truth. About my fears, about my manipulations, about how I destroyed your happiness. And I also told her about the room you set up, about how you suffered all these months. Mom, Nathan, she wants to talk to you. Nurse Betty will give you the message, but I wanted you to know that Ashley is willing to give a conversation a chance. Nathan was silent for a long moment, processing the information. What if she changes her mind? What if it's just pity? What if it's love, Nathan? What if she needs to hear directly from you everything that happened? That night, Ashley was at home, trying to get used to the routine of having a newborn. Ethan had been fed and was asleep, and she finally had a moment to think. Her house seemed different now. There were tiny clothes scattered about, diapers, bottles, visible signs that her life had changed forever. But there was also a feeling of incompleteness that she didn't want to admit. The phone rang around 9 in the evening. Hello? Ashley, it's Nathan. She felt her heart race upon hearing his voice. "Hi, Nathan. Nurse Betty told me that maybe you were willing to talk. I am, but not on the phone, and not today. I'm still processing everything. Of course I understand. Whenever you want, wherever you want." "Nathan?" "Yes?" "Your mother told me about the room you set up." There was a silence on the other end of the line. "Is it true?" she insisted. "It is," he replied, his voice almost a whisper. "Why did you never try to find me?" "Because I thought you were better off without me. Because I was a coward who believed the lies I was told about it being better for you to go it alone." "And now? Do you still think that?" "Now I know I made the biggest mistake of my life. That I missed 8 months of my son's pregnancy. That I let the woman I love build a life alone. That I destroyed a family before it even existed." Ashley felt tears streaming down her face. "Nathan, I need to see you, but I also need time to organize my thoughts." "How much time do you need?" "A few days, a week maybe." "Okay, I'll wait as long as necessary." "And Nathan?" "Yes?" "Ethan is really beautiful. He has your eyes." She could hear the emotion in his voice when he answered, "Thank you for letting me be part of his birth, even with everything that happened between us." After hanging up, Ashley went to check on Ethan, who was sleeping peacefully in his crib. She watched him for a long time, thinking about how that little being had completely changed her perspective on forgiveness, second chances, and the complexity of love. In the following days, Ashley established a routine with Ethan. The early morning feedings, the diaper changes, the moments of affection. Day by day, she felt more confident as a mother, but also more aware that Ethan deserved to have a father present. Jennifer visited her a few times, always bringing unsolicited news about Nathan. "Ashley, I heard he asked for a few days off from the hospital," she shared during one of these visits. "How do you know that?" "Little Danny had a follow-up appointment yesterday. The receptionist mentioned that Dr. Nathan was on leave, something about personal matters." Ashley wondered if his absence had something to do with her and Ethan. Part of her felt guilty for causing problems at his work. "Jennifer, do you think I'm doing the right thing by giving him a chance to explain?" "Ashley, you're one of the smartest people I know. Trust your intuition. But can I tell you something?" "What?" "In all the years I've known you, I've never seen you look at anyone the way you looked at Nathan. And yesterday, during the delivery, I saw how he looked at the two of you. You don't see that much love in one place every day." "But what if he hurts me again? What if he doesn't? What if it's the second chance you both deserve?" On the Thursday after Ethan's birth, Ashley finally felt ready for the conversation with Nathan. She called him, and they arranged to meet at the park where they used to walk when they were dating. "Do you want me to go with you?" "Mrs.?" Patricia offered. "No, Mom, this conversation needs to be just between the two of us." "And Ethan?" "Ethan is coming with me. He's part of all this." Ashley arrived at the park with Ethan in the stroller, 5 minutes before the agreed time. Nathan was already there, sitting on the bench where they used to sit and talk about the future. He stood up when he saw her approaching. He looked different, thinner, with deep circles under his eyes, but there was something new in his eyes, a determination she hadn't seen in a long time. "Hi," he said simply. "Hi," she replied, stopping the stroller near the bench. They sat down, keeping a respectful distance. Nathan looked at Ethan with an expression of pure adoration. "He's grown," he commented. "It's only been 4 days, Nathan," she laughed nervously. "To me, it feels like an eternity." Ashley took a deep breath. "Nathan, I need you to tell me everything, from the beginning. Don't leave anything out. Don't try to protect me. I deserve to know the whole truth." "You're right," he agreed. "Where do you want me to start?" "Start with the day you disappeared." Nathan sighed and began to tell the whole story. He talked about his mother's reaction, about the threats, about his fear that she would actually hurt herself. He told her about the sleepless nights, about how he set up Ethan's room, about the anonymous deposits he made into her account. "You were depositing money into my account," she interrupted. "Every month. It was all I could do to feel useful in some way. I thought it was some government program." I wanted you to know it was from me, but I didn't know how to explain it without having to explain everything. Ashley processed this information. During all those difficult months, Nathan had been trying to help her in the only way he could. "Go on," she asked. He told her how he almost called her hundreds of times, how he drove to her house but didn't have the courage to knock on the door, about how he had become a doctor at that specific hospital because he knew it was where she would have her prenatal care. "You chose to work there because of me." "I did. I thought if you ever needed me, at least I'd be nearby." "Nathan, that's stalking," she said, but without anger in her voice. "I know, and I know it's unhealthy. But I was desperate, Ashley. Desperate to protect you both, even from a distance." Ethan started to stir in the stroller, and Ashley picked him up. Nathan watched her every move, clearly anxious to interact with his son. "Do you want to hold him?" she offered. Nathan's eyes lit up. "May I?" She placed Ethan in his arms and watched the complete transformation on his face. All the tension disappeared, replaced by a tenderness she had never seen before. "Hi, Ethan," Nathan whispered. "Daddy's here now." Ethan seemed to recognize the voice and opened his eyes, fixing his gaze on his father's face. Nathan began to cry silently. "He has your eyelashes," Ashley observed. "And your nose," Nathan replied, gently touching the baby's little face. They stayed quiet for a few minutes, just watching Ethan. It was as if the world around them had disappeared, and only that small family on the park bench existed. "Nathan," Ashley finally said, "I need you to understand something. No matter what your mother did, no matter your fears, you made the decision to disappear. You chose to leave me alone. I know. And I know there's no excuse for that. All these months I questioned if I was good enough to be a mother, if Ethan deserved a better family, if I had done something to drive you away." Nathan looked at her with pain in his eyes. "Ashley, you were always perfect. You were always more than I deserved. The problem was never you. But I didn't know that, and I carried that guilt throughout the entire pregnancy. How can I make up for that? How can I make you believe I will never abandon you again?" Ashley took Ethan back and placed him in the stroller. Ethan had fallen asleep during the conversation, unaware of the complexities of the adult world. "I don't know if you can, Nathan. Trust isn't something you rebuild overnight. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, therapy, changing hospitals, anything. Why would you change hospitals? So I don't force my presence into your life. If you want to keep me at a distance, I'll respect that." Ashley studied him carefully. There was a sincerity in his voice that she couldn't deny. "Nathan, I don't want to keep you at a distance. Ethan deserves to know his father. But I need guarantees that you won't disappear again at the first sign of trouble." "What kind of guarantees?" "I want you to go to therapy. Not for me, but for yourself. You need to learn to handle the pressure from your mother in a healthy way." "I've already scheduled the first session," he said, "for Monday." "And your mother, how is she handling all this?" "She's going to therapy too. She realized the harm she caused and is genuinely trying to change." Ashley nodded, impressed by the speed of the changes. "What about us?" she asked. "What do you hope happens?" Nathan hesitated before answering. "I hope I can earn back your trust. I hope that one day you can forgive me. And I hope that maybe, in the future, we can be a real family." "What if I can't forgive you? What if the hurt is too deep?" "Then I'll accept it, but I'll be here for Ethan if you let me. I'll be the best father I can be, even if you never love me again." The honesty of the answer touched Ashley deeply. There was a maturity in Nathan she hadn't seen before. "Nathan, I can't promise we'll be a couple again. I can't even promise I'll be able to forgive you completely. But I can promise I will try. For Ethan, and maybe for us too." Nathan's eyes filled with tears of relief. "That's more than I deserve. But we'll start slow. Supervised visits first. You can come see Ethan at home with my mother present. Later, maybe outings to the park like this one. We need to rebuild everything from scratch." "Okay. Anything you allow is more than I dreamed of." Ethan woke up and started to cry, a sign he was hungry. "I need to take him home," Ashley said, standing up. "Can I?" Can I help with the stroller? You may. They walked together to Ashley's car, Nathan pushing the stroller with excessive care, as if it carried the most precious treasure in the world. Ashley, he said, as she was putting Ethan in the car seat. Yes? Thank you for giving me this chance. I promise I won't waste it. Nathan? Yes? When you come to visit us tomorrow, can you bring pictures of the room you set up? I'd like to see it. His face lit up. Of course, I can bring everything. The next day, Nathan showed up at Ashley's house promptly at 3 in the afternoon, carrying a photo album and a bag full of presents for Ethan. Mrs. Patricia greeted him at the door with a neutral expression, but not hostile like before. Nathan, she greeted him. Mrs. Patricia, thank you for allowing me into your home. Don't thank me. Thank my daughter, who has a bigger heart than I do. Ashley appeared carrying Ethan, who was awake and alert. Hi, she said, a little shyly. Hi, I brought the pictures you asked for. They sat down in the living room, and Nathan opened the album. The first pictures showed an empty room, then the furniture being delivered, then each detail being carefully arranged. My goodness, Nathan, Ashley whispered, turning the pages. You chose everything yourself. I did. Every piece of furniture, every decoration. I imagined you with me in the stores, giving your opinion on everything. The pictures showed a complete and beautifully decorated nursery with a woodland animal theme. There was a light wood crib, a comfortable nursing chair, a soft rug, and several shelves with children's books. You bought books for a newborn? Mrs. Patricia asked, her voice a little softer. I did. I read somewhere that it's never too early to start reading to children. Ashley turned a few more pages and came across pictures of Nathan assembling the furniture by himself. There was something deeply touching about seeing him building a room for a son he didn't know if he would ever meet. Nathan, can I ask you a question? She said. Of course. Why did you keep the ultrasound picture in your wallet? He blushed slightly. Because it was the only proof I had that Ethan existed. I looked at that picture dozens of times a day, trying to imagine what he would be like when he was born. Ethan started to squirm in Ashley's arms, and Nathan automatically reached out. May I? You may. Nathan took Ethan with a naturalness that even impressed Mrs. Patricia. It was as if he were already an experienced father, not someone who had held his son for the first time just a few days ago. Hi, my prince, Nathan murmured, making funny faces at Ethan. Daddy prepared a beautiful room for you. Ethan seemed to respond to his father's stimuli, moving his little arms and making small sounds. He likes you, Ashley observed. This is the first time I'm holding my own son consciously. During the delivery I was in doctor mode. Now I'm just his daddy. Mrs. Patricia, who had been observing the interaction in silence, stood up. I'll make some coffee, she announced. Nathan, will you stay for a snack? If it's not a bother, and it's no bother. When Mrs. Patricia left the room, Ashley and Nathan were alone with Ethan for the first time since the delivery. Ashley, can I ask you what the last few months were like? Nathan said, still rocking Ethan. Difficult, she answered honestly. Especially the first 3 months. I had a lot of nausea, a lot of insecurity. I cried almost every day. I'm so sorry. Then it got better. I started to get excited about the idea of being a mother. I bought little clothes, read books about babies, took a prenatal class. Alone? With Jennifer. She accompanied me through almost everything. I need to thank her for taking care of you when I couldn't. Ethan started to cry, and Ashley automatically prepared to take him, but Nathan was already standing up. Can I try to calm him down? You can, but I think he's hungry. It won't work. Nathan started to rock Ethan gently, humming softly a song that Ashley recognized immediately. It was the song they used to listen to together when they were dating. To everyone's surprise, Ethan stopped crying and went back to sleep. How did you do that? Ashley asked, impressed. I don't know. Fatherly instinct. Or maybe he recognizes your voice. I read that babies can recognize voices they heard in the womb. Do you think he could hear me when I used to talk to your belly? Ashley smiled, remembering how Nathan used to talk to the baby before everything fell apart. Maybe so. Mrs. Patricia came back with the coffee and was surprised to see Ethan sleeping peacefully in Nathan's arms. He stopped crying, she asked. Nathan sang to him, and he calmed down, Ashley explained. Mrs. Patricia murmured, clearly impressed but trying not to show it. They had coffee together, with Nathan still holding Ethan. The conversation flowed naturally, like in the old days, and Ashley found herself thinking how that scene seemed right. Nathan, she said as he was getting ready to leave, would you like to come over for dinner with us tomorrow? His eyes lit up. Really? Really. Nothing special. Just a family dinner. I'd love to. After Nathan left, Mrs. Patricia helped Ashley give Ethan a bath. Sweetheart, can I give you my opinion? Of course, Mom. That man has changed. I don't know if it's the therapy he's already started or if it's becoming a father, but he's not the same man who ran away 8 months ago. You think so? I see it in the way he looks at Ethan. I see it in the way he looks at you. And most of all, I see it in the way he's taking responsibility for the mistakes he made. Ashley nodded, thinking about her mother's words. But I'm still scared, Mom. It's normal to be scared, dear, but don't let fear stop you from being happy. You 3 deserve a chance. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. In the following weeks, Nathan became a constant presence in Ashley and Ethan's life. He came over every day after work, helped with the baby's chores, and little by little he earned everyone's trust. 1 month after Ethan's birth, Ashley finally felt ready to visit the room Nathan had prepared. It was a Saturday morning when she put Ethan in the car seat and followed Nathan to his house. Mom is anxious to see you, Nathan said during the drive. But I promise if you want to leave at any time, we will. Okay. Catherine greeted them at the door, clearly nervous, but visibly different. She had started therapy, and it showed in her calmer demeanor. Ashley, Ethan, she said, her hands trembling slightly. I'm so glad you came. Hello, Mrs. Catherine. Catherine led them to the room Nathan had prepared, and Ashley was speechless. The photos didn't do it justice. The room was perfect, every detail thought of with love. Nathan, it's beautiful, she sighed. You like it? I can change anything you don't like. No, it's perfect. Ashley put Ethan in the crib, and he seemed to adapt immediately, as if he had always slept there. Nathan came closer and stood watching his son in the crib he had chosen with such care. It seems like he likes it here, Catherine commented, watching from the doorway. It really does, Ashley agreed. Ashley, Catherine said hesitantly, can I talk to you? In private? Ashley looked at Nathan, who nodded encouragingly. Of course. They went to the living room, leaving Nathan with Ethan. Ashley, I know I've already apologized, but I need to do it again. And I need you to know that I am in therapy, just as I promised. How is it going? It's hard. I'm discovering things about myself that I don't like. About how I used my grief to control Nathan. About how I turned my fear into a weapon against his happiness. And how is Nathan dealing with this? Better than I expected. I think becoming a father gave him a strength I didn't know he had. He set clear boundaries with me for the first time in his life. Ashley was curious. What kind of boundaries? He said that if I tried to interfere in your relationship in any way, he would move to another state. And he said that if I wanted to have a healthy relationship with Ethan, I would need to completely respect your decisions as parents. And do you agree with that? Completely. Ashley, I ruined my son's childhood and teenage years. I won't ruin my grandson's. They went back to the room and found Nathan talking softly to Ethan, telling stories about each item in the room. And this armchair is where Mommy will sit to feed you when you're here. Daddy chose the most comfortable one he could find. Ashley felt her heart tighten. There was something deeply moving about seeing Nathan planning a future that included her. Nathan, she said softly. Yes? Can I ask you a personal question? Of course. During all these months, did you date anyone? Nathan looked her in the eyes. No, I never even considered the possibility. My heart has always been yours, Ashley. And what if I say I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust you romantically again? What if I say that maybe we can only be friends who raise a child together? Nathan hesitated only a second before answering. Then I would accept it. I'd rather have you as a friend and Ethan as my son than not have you in my life at all. The sincerity of his answer moved Ashley deeply. During all those months of anger and hurt, she had forgotten how genuine Nathan could be when he was honest. Nathan, she said, her voice almost a whisper, what if I say that maybe, just maybe, I want to try again? Slowly, very carefully, but try. Nathan's eyes filled with tears. I would say I will do everything in my power to deserve that second chance. Catherine, who had been watching the conversation in silence, discreetly left the room, giving the couple privacy. Ashley moved closer to Nathan and, for the first time in 8 months, gently touched his face. It won't be easy, Nathan. It will take time for me to trust you completely again. I know, and I'm prepared to wait as long as it takes. And what if you get tired of waiting? I won't get tired. Never. Ethan chose that moment to wake up and stretch out his little arms, as if asking for attention. Nathan and Ashley laughed, and for the first time in a long time they laughed together. I think he wants us to stop talking about serious things, Ashley said. Smart like his mother, Nathan replied, picking Ethan up. They spent the rest of the morning at Nathan's house, and Ashley could observe how naturally he interacted with Ethan. He changed diapers, gave him a bottle, made Ethan laugh with funny faces. It was as if he was born to be a father. Nathan, she said as they were getting ready to leave, how about we have dinner together tonight? I can cook for the 3 of us. Are you sure? I am. I think it's time we started building new memories. That night, Ashley cooked Nathan's favorite dish, chicken stroganoff with shoestring potatoes. It was the first time she had cooked for him since they started talking again. It's exactly how I remember it, Nathan said, savoring the food. My grandmother's recipe, I never forget it. Ethan was sleeping peacefully in his car seat next to the table, allowing his parents to have an adult conversation. Ashley, can I tell you something? Of course. Every day on my way to the hospital, I would pass by your house. I never stopped, just drove by as if it kept me connected to you. I know, she said calmly. You know, Jennifer told me. She saw you a few times. Nathan blushed. You must have thought I was a stalker. I did, but now I understand it was your way of staying close to us. And how do you feel about that? Ashley thought for a moment before answering. At first I felt harassed, but now I think you were a desperate man trying to stay connected to the family you lost out of fear. That's exactly it. They finished dinner in a comfortable silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Ethan woke up at dessert time, and Ashley automatically prepared to breastfeed him. Can I stay? Nathan asked. Or do you prefer privacy? You can stay. Nathan watched with fascination as Ashley breastfed Ethan. There was something deeply intimate and beautiful about the scene, and he felt honored to witness that moment. It's amazing how he calms down when he's nursing, he commented. It's the strongest connection moment we have. In the first days, it was the only thing that really calmed him down. I miss so much, Nathan murmured more to himself. But you won't miss anything else, Ashley said, looking into his eyes. If it's up to me, you'll be present for every important moment of his life from now on. And your life? He asked hesitantly. We'll see, Nathan. One day at a time. When Ethan finished nursing, Nathan asked to put him in the crib. Ashley watched him go up the stairs carrying their son, and something inside her grew quiet. Maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild what had been broken. In the following weeks, Nathan became an even more constant presence. He started spending nights at Ashley's house, sleeping on the living room sofa so he could help with the early morning feedings. You don't have to be here every night, Ashley said one morning, after a particularly difficult night when Ethan had woken up several times. I want to be here. I want to help. I want to recover every moment I missed. Nathan, You can't try to make up for 8 months in a few weeks. You'll burn out. Then tell me what to do. Tell me how I can help without being excessive. Ashley thought for a moment. How about 3 nights a week? Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That way you rest on the other days, and I gradually get used to having help. Okay. Whatever you decide is fine with me. Mrs. Patricia, who had observed the entire evolution of the situation, finally began treating Nathan like part of the family again. There was still some reserve, but she could see his genuine effort to be a good father and partner. "Nathan," she said one night when he was helping wash the dinner dishes, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course, Mrs. Patricia. Have you really changed, or are you just making a temporary effort?" Nathan stopped what he was doing and looked her directly in the eyes. "Mrs. Patricia, I know I still have a lot to prove, but I can assure you of one thing. Losing Ashley and Ethan was the worst experience of my life. I'd rather spend the rest of my life proving I've changed than risk losing them again." "And your mother? How are you handling that situation?" "We've set clear boundaries. She understands that any interference means I cut ties for good. And she's in therapy, really trying to change." "And the therapy? How is it going for you?" "Difficult but necessary. I'm learning to handle pressure, to make decisions based on what's right and not what's easiest." Mrs. Patricia nodded, seeming satisfied with the answer. "All right, but I want you to know that if you hurt my daughter again, you'll have to deal with me." Nathan smiled. "I won't give you a reason for that, Mrs. Patricia. I promise." 2 months after Ethan's birth, Ashley finally felt ready to take the next step. It was a Friday night and Nathan was there for the baby care night. "Nathan," she said after they put Ethan to sleep, "would you like to watch a movie with me?" "Of course. What do you want to watch?" "That romantic comedy we used to watch when we were dating." Nathan looked at her, surprised. It was the first time she had directly referenced their dating days in a positive way. "Are you sure?" "I am." They settled on the sofa, keeping a respectful distance. During the movie, however, Ashley found herself gradually moving closer to Nathan, until she was leaning against his shoulder. "Comfortable?" he asked softly. "I am," she replied, and realized it was true. When the movie ended, they stayed in the same position, neither wanting to break the moment. "Ashley," Nathan finally said. "Yes?" "Can I kiss you?" She lifted her face to look at him and saw all the vulnerability in the world in his eyes. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. The kiss was soft, hesitant, filled with all the unresolved feelings between them. When they parted, both had tears in their eyes. "I missed you," Ashley whispered. "You have no idea how much I missed you." "Nathan, I want to try again, I really do, but I still need time, all the time in the world. And I want you to understand that if you let me down again, I won't let you down. Never again." 3 months later, Nathan and Ashley decided to make their reconciliation official. There was no big party or dramatic announcement. Simply one Sunday morning, Nathan didn't sleep on the sofa anymore. "Good morning," he said, kissing her gently when she woke up. "Good morning," she replied, smiling. "Did Ethan wake up during the night?" "He did, but I managed to calm him down without waking you. He had his bottle and went back to sleep. You're becoming an expert dad." "I'm trying to make up for lost time." Ashley turned to face him. "Nathan, you already have. You don't need to carry the guilt from the past anymore." "Are you sure?" "I am. We're a family now, for real." Ethan chose that moment to start crying in the next room, and they laughed. "Sounds like someone wants attention," Nathan said, getting up. "Let me go," Ashley offered. "Let's go together," he suggested. "Family goes together, right?" They went together to get Ethan, who stopped crying as soon as he saw both parents appear at the door. Nathan picked him up while Ashley prepared the bottle. "You know something?" Ashley said, watching Nathan make funny faces at Ethan. "What?" "I think everything happened the way it was supposed to." "How so?" "If you hadn't left, maybe we never would have matured enough to be a real family. Maybe we needed to go through that to appreciate what we have." Nathan thought about her words. "You really believe that?" "I do. Look at us now. We're stronger, more mature, more committed than we were before. And Ethan? Ethan got a father who fights every day to be better, a father who doesn't take his presence for granted. Nathan smiled, gently rocking Ethan. And a mother who is strong enough to give second chances when they are deserved. And a family that went through storms but managed to find its way back. Ethan made a little sound, as if agreeing with his parents, and they all laughed. "I think he approves of our conversation," Ashley said. "Or he's hungry," Nathan suggested, handing Ethan to Ashley to nurse. While Ashley nursed Ethan, Nathan watched his small family and felt a deep gratitude. He had almost lost everything to fear and immaturity, but life had given him a second chance. "Ashley," he said softly. "Thank you." "For what?" "For giving me the chance to be a father, for having the courage to forgive me, for building a family with me even after everything." "Nathan, you don't need to thank me. That's love. True love is about second chances, about growing together, about choosing to stay even when it's hard. And you chose to stay. I did, and I choose to every day." Ethan had fallen asleep on his mother's chest, content and peaceful. Nathan picked him up carefully and placed him back in the crib, watching his sleeping son for a moment. "You know what else?" Ashley said, hugging Nathan from behind. "What?" "I think Catherine deserves a second chance too. She's really trying to change." "Are you sure?" "I am. And Ethan deserves to know his paternal grandmother. Everyone deserves a complete family." Nathan turned in her arms and kissed her deeply. "How did I get so lucky to find you twice in my life?" "It wasn't luck, Nathan. It was love. And love always finds a way." 6 months later, on a sunny Sunday afternoon, Nathan, Ashley and Ethan were at the same park where everything had started to rebuild. Ethan, now 8 months old, was sitting on his father's lap, fascinatedly watching the other children play. "Remember when we first came here after the delivery?" Ashley asked. "I remember. I was scared to death that you'd change your mind about giving me a chance. And I was scared to death that I was making a mistake. And now? Now I know it was the best decision I ever made." Ethan started to babble, trying to talk to the other children. Nathan and Ashley laughed at his determination to communicate. "He's going to be as sociable as you," Nathan observed. "And as stubborn as you," Ashley retorted. "Perfect combination." Catherine approached them, carrying a bag with snacks. Over the past few months, she had become a constant but respectful presence in the small family's life. Therapy had worked wonders, and she had learned to be a loving grandmother without being controlling. "How's my handsome little grandson?" she said, making faces at Ethan. Ethan smiled and stretched his little arms out to his grandmother, who picked him up with joy. "He gets more handsome every day," Catherine commented. "And every day he looks more like Nathan." "Good thing he got his mother's looks," Nathan joked, receiving a loving swat from Ashley. They spent the whole afternoon at the park, like a normal family. Ethan played on the grass, tried to eat leaves, being stopped by his watchful parents, and napped in the lap of each of the adults. As the sun began to set, they got ready to leave. "Nathan," Ashley said while putting Ethan in the car seat. "Yes? There's something I never told you." "What?" "That night at the hospital when you were delivering our baby, despite all the anger I felt, a part of me felt complete, as if we were all finally where we were supposed to be." Nathan stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "Really? Really? It was as if fate had conspired to bring us together at the most important moment of our lives." Maybe it did conspire. Maybe. Ethan chose that moment to make a sound that sounded suspiciously like "Dada," his first clear word. Nathan's jaw dropped. He said, "Dada," Ethan repeated, looking directly at Nathan. Catherine started to cry with emotion. Ashley covered her mouth in surprise, and Nathan was simply frozen with happiness. "He said Dada," Nathan whispered, as if he couldn't believe it. "He did," Ashley confirmed, also emotional. Nathan picked Ethan up and held him in the air. "Dada's here, my son. Dada will always be here. Ethan laughed loudly as if he understood the importance of the moment. And Mama, too, Ashley added, hugging them both. And Grandma, Catherine finished, joining the family hug. There, in the park where they had rebuilt their family, they remained embraced for a long moment, savoring the perfection of that instant. "You know something?" Ashley said, still in Nathan's arms. "What?" "I love you. I still love you. I've always loved you. I love you too, more than I ever imagined possible." "Daddy," Ethan repeated, making everyone laugh. "And we love you, Ethan," Nathan said, kissing his son's forehead. "More than anything in the world." When they got home that night, after having dinner at Catherine's house, she had insisted on celebrating her grandson's first word, Nathan and Ashley put Ethan to sleep. "Nathan," Ashley said as they were getting ready for bed. "Yes? Thank you. Why now?" "For fighting for us. For not giving up when I was difficult. For proving that people can change. Thank you for giving me the chance to prove it." They lay down and held each other in the dark, listening to Ethan's calm breathing in the next room. "Nathan? What if we have more children?" Nathan turned to look at her. "You want to have more children?" "I do. I want Ethan to have siblings. I want our family to grow." "When?" "In about 2 years. When Ethan is a bit bigger and I feel ready for another pregnancy. And this time I'll be present for every moment," Nathan promised. "And this time I won't be afraid that you'll disappear." "I'll never disappear again, Ashley. You are my home, you are my family. I don't exist without you. And we don't exist without you." They fell asleep in each other's arms, with Ethan sleeping peacefully in the next room, and Catherine in her own home, finally at peace with herself and the family she had almost destroyed, but helped rebuild. 2 years later, on a spring morning, Ashley woke up feeling nauseous. Nathan noticed immediately. "Are you okay?" he asked, worried. I think I need to take a pregnancy test." Nathan's eyes lit up. "Really?" "Really." They took the test together, with Ethan, now 2.5 years old, playing in the next room, unaware of the historic moment his parents were experiencing. "Positive," Ashley announced, showing the test. Nathan picked her up and spun her around, both laughing with happiness. "Daddy, Mommy!" Ethan appeared at the bathroom door, drawn by the commotion. "Ethan, you're going to have a little brother or sister," Ashley announced. Ethan clapped his hands, even without fully understanding what that meant. "Baby!" he shouted, one of the words he had recently learned. "That's right, my love. Baby!" Nathan confirmed, picking up his son. This time, Nathan was present for every appointment, every exam, every moment of the pregnancy. They set up the second baby's room together, chose the name together, and experienced every emotion of the pregnancy together. When Emma was born, a beautiful girl who looked just like her mother, Nathan cried just as much as he did at Ethan's birth, but this time they were pure tears of joy with no mixture of pain or regret. "She's perfect," he whispered, holding his newborn daughter. "Like Ethan," Ashley said, watching her oldest son meet his little sister. "Like the family we built together," Nathan finished. Ethan, curious and protective, watched everything carefully. "My sister," he declared, gently touching Emma's little hand. "Your sister," Ashley confirmed. "And you're going to help Mommy and Daddy take care of her, right?" "I will," Ethan replied enthusiastically. Catherine, who was present for the birth this time, by the parents' invitation, watched the scene with tears of joy. "A grandmother twice over," she murmured to Mrs. Patricia, who was also there. "And this time without the drama," Mrs. Patricia retorted, but with affection in her voice. "Thank God," Catherine sighed. Nathan looked around the room, Ashley holding Emma, Ethan fascinated with his sister, the two grandmothers emotional, and felt a deep gratitude for having had the chance to rebuild everything he had lost out of fear. "You know something?" he said to Ashley. "What?" "I think our story got the ending it deserved." "It's not over yet," she smiled. "We're just getting started." "That's true. We have a whole life ahead of us. A whole life of watching Ethan and Emma grow up, of us growing old together, of building new memories every day. Emma made a little sound and opened her eyes as if she was agreeing with her parents. I think she approves of the plan, Nathan laughed. How could she not? We're an amazing family, Ashley declared. And they really were. A family that was born from love, almost destroyed by fear, but managed to rebuild itself through forgiveness, patience, and the determination to make it work. 5 years later, on a Saturday afternoon, Nathan and Ashley were in the backyard of the new house they had bought together, watching Ethan, now 7 years old, teach Emma, 5 years old, how to ride a bike. Easy, Emma. Hold the handlebars, Ethan shouted, running alongside his sister. I'm holding on, Emma replied, focused on the task. They get along so well, Ashley commented, leaning on Nathan's shoulder. Ethan inherited your protective instinct, and Emma inherited your determination. A perfect combination. Nathan hugged Ashley from behind and rested his chin on her head. Ashley? Thank you. What for this time? For everything. For forgiving me. For building this family with me. For giving me the chance to be the father and husband I always wanted to be. Nathan, you don't have to thank me anymore. This is what we do for love. Even so, I want you to know that I don't take any of this for granted. Every day with you all is a gift. For me too. Emma finally managed to keep her balance and pedaled on her own for the first time, causing cheers of celebration from Ethan and applause from her parents. I did it! I did it! She shouted, beaming. Congratulations, Princess, Nathan shouted back. Mommy, Daddy, did you see? I rode by myself. Emma stopped the bike in front of her parents, breathless with joy. We sure did, sweetheart. You were amazing, Ashley said, hugging her daughter. Ethan helped me a lot, Emma said generously. That's what big brothers are for, Nathan explained, ruffling Ethan's hair. Daddy, are you and Mommy going to have more babies? Ethan suddenly asked. Nathan and Ashley exchanged looks and laughed. Why do you ask? Ashley wanted to know. Because I like having a sister. I want to have more brothers and sisters to play with. And I want to be a big sister too, Emma added. Well, Nathan began, exchanging another look with Ashley. Well, what? Ethan insisted. Maybe you won't have to wait too long to find out, Ashley said mysteriously. Really? Both children shouted in unison. Really? Nathan confirmed, smiling. Mommy is pregnant again. Ethan and Emma burst into cheers of joy, jumping around their parents as if they had won the lottery. When is the baby coming? Ethan asked. In a few months, Ashley replied. Is it a boy or a girl? Emma wanted to know. We don't know yet. Do you want to find out together with Mommy and Daddy? Nathan suggested. Yes, they answered in chorus. That night, after putting the children to bed, a task that now included long discussions about baby names and where the new addition to the family would sleep, Nathan and Ashley sat on the living room sofa. 3 children, Nathan murmured, still processing the reality. 3 children, Ashley repeated, smiling. Our house is going to be crazy. Isn't it already? They laughed, thinking about the daily hustle and bustle with Ethan and Emma. Nathan? Yes? Do you regret anything? About what happened in the past? About disappearing when you found out about Ethan? Yeah. Nathan thought for a moment before answering. I regret the pain I caused, the time we lost. But if it hadn't happened, maybe we wouldn't have matured enough to be the family we are today. So you don't regret it? I regret the method, but not the outcome. We are stronger for having gone through it. And more grateful. Much more grateful. Ashley nestled deeper into Nathan's arm. You know what else? What? Sometimes I look at Ethan and Emma and think they'll never know how close we came to not existing as a family. To them, we've always been Mommy, Daddy, and the kids. They never knew the separation. And that's for the best. Yes, they'll grow up only knowing that they are loved and that they have a solid family. A family that fought to exist. Ethan appeared at the top of the stairs, interrupting his parents' conversation. Daddy, Mommy, I can't sleep, he said, coming down the steps. Come here, sweetheart, Ashley called to him. Ethan settled between his parents on the sofa. "What's on your mind?" Nathan asked. "The baby." "Do you think he'll like me?" "Of course he'll like you, Ethan. You're going to be the most amazing big brother in the world," Ashley reassured him. "How do I know that?" "Because you're already amazing with Emma. You look after her, protect her, teach her things. And I'll do the same thing with the baby?" "If you want to," Nathan replied. "I do. I want to be the best big brother in the world." "Then you will be," Ashley said, kissing her son's forehead. Emma appeared at the top of the stairs. "Are you talking without me?" she asked, coming down to join the family. "We're talking about the baby," Ethan explained. "Can I join?" "Of course," Nathan said, making room on the sofa. "I was thinking that if it's a girl, she can share a room with me," Emma declared generously. "And if it's a boy?" Ashley asked. "Then he shares with Ethan." "So organized," Nathan laughed. "You've already got it all planned out." "I do, and I also thought that when the baby is born, me and Ethan can help take care of it." "How so?" Ashley wanted to know. "I can change diapers and Ethan can give the bottle." "Little babies only drink from mommy, Emma," Ethan explained. "Oh, then Ethan can sing the baby to sleep. He sings well. And you can—" Ethan thought for a moment. "You can pick out the little clothes." "Good idea." Nathan and Ashley watched their children planning how to help with the new baby and felt their hearts overflowing with love. "You two are going to be the best big siblings in the world," Ashley said. "I promise I'll take good care of the baby," Ethan declared solemnly. "I promise too," Emma added. "And we promise that we'll keep on being the best family in the world," Nathan said, hugging everyone. "Forever?" Emma asked. "Forever," Nathan confirmed. "Even when you get really old?" Ethan wanted to know. "Especially when we get really old," Ashley laughed. "Then you'll have to take care of us." "Like you take care of us now?" Emma asked. "Exactly." "Then it's settled," Ethan declared. "We're family forever." "Forever," everyone repeated in unison. And so, in the living room of the house they had built together, the family that had almost been lost but managed to find its way back remained embraced, savoring the perfection of another ordinary moment that was, in fact, extraordinary. 6 months later, when Noah was born, a boy who was a perfect blend of Nathan and Ashley, Ethan and Emma were in the waiting room with their 2 grandmothers, eager to meet their new little brother. "When can we see Noah?" Ethan asked Mrs. Patricia for the 10th time. "Soon, sweetheart. Daddy will call for you," she replied patiently. "Will he like me?" Emma asked Catherine. "He will love you, sweetie. How could he not love such a caring sister?" When Nathan finally appeared in the waiting room with a beaming smile, the children immediately stood up. "You can come meet Noah," he announced. Ethan and Emma ran down the hallway, followed by their grandmothers. When they entered the room, they found Ashley in the bed, holding a tiny baby swaddled in a blue blanket. "Hi, my loves," Ashley said, smiling tiredly but happily. "Come meet Noah." Ethan approached first, with the seriousness of someone facing a great responsibility. "Hi, Noah. I'm your brother Ethan. I'll teach you how to ride a bike when you grow up." Emma approached next. "Hi, Noah. I'm your sister Emma. I'll pick out pretty clothes for you." Noah opened his eyes as if he were listening to everything, and Ethan and Emma were fascinated. "He heard me," Ethan whispered. "And he heard me too," Emma added. "Of course he heard you," Nathan said, picking Ethan up so he could see his brother better. "He knows your voices. He heard you talking to him while he was in Mommy's tummy." "Really?" Emma asked, impressed. "Really," Ashley confirmed. "And now you'll be able to talk to him every day." Catherine and Mrs. Patricia watched the scene, moved. There was something deeply touching about seeing that family, which had started so turbulently, now complete and harmonious. 5 grandchildren, Catherine murmured to Mrs. Patricia. Who would have thought? 3 beautiful children and a close-knit family, Mrs. Patricia replied. It's all a grandmother could ask for. Nathan looked around the room, Ashley radiant despite the tiredness, Ethan and Emma fascinated with their new baby brother, the 2 grandmothers emotional, and Noah sleeping peacefully after meeting the whole family. "Perfect," he whispered. "What's perfect?" Ashley asked. "All of this moment, our family." "Our crazy and loud family," she laughed. Our perfect and complete family, he corrected. Noah chose that moment to make a little sound as if agreeing with his father. Even he agrees, Ethan observed, causing everyone to laugh. And so, in the hospital room where everything had begun 3 years earlier, Nathan and Ashley's family was finally complete. It had taken a few detours, some tears, a lot of forgiveness, and a lot of love, but they had arrived where they were meant to be. Together. Forever. End of story. Now tell me what you thought of this story of overcoming and love. Do you believe Nathan really changed? And Ashley, do you think she was right to give him a second chance? Leave your honest opinion in the comments about this family that managed to rebuild itself after so much suffering. Your participation is very important to us. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.